and that's something that I've always been intrigued about, is keeping music primal, keeping it raw, like in the state that you hear it in live, where, you know, when you hear music live, you're hearing it, but you're visualizing it as well. You're seeing the show, and that has a lot to do with the actual audio. It could be, you hear live CDs and recordings, and they're not that good because the environment they're in is just out of control. It's not very artistic. It's more about documenting something. But in the studio, what I try to now, as much as possible, even in the past, I try to record bands live. Try to document the energy between the members, especially the rhythm section, the bass player, the drummer, the rhythm guitar. Try to really capture that. If the guitar is bleeding into the drums, it's just going to make that guitar sound a little bit more 3D. It's like having 8 mics picking up the room tone on the guitar. Same with the drums bleeding into the guitar. It's just another room mic. And everything's sort of working together, and then the room becomes an instrument and resonates as the inside of a cello would. The studio was actually, when it was here, I found the space. It was an open office, and there's walls up here. There's like this weird closet in the middle of the room, but the original building in the early 1900s was a movie theater. So it's got some history, and then it was turned into a roller rink in the 30s, I think, and a YMCA and a gym, and there was a bunch of other things. So how I built it, a lot of Celotex, which is I don't know if they even sell that stuff anymore. It's like a pressed fiber, and then multiple layers of drywall, insulation, drywall. Same thing on the floor. There's a few layers to sort of dampen and lift the floor. But what's cool about the floor in here, it's like a stage floor, because it was originally a gym, and it's actually a floating floor, and it's very live sounding. So as soon as you put anything in here, it resonates, which gives my room a unique sound. But at the same time, a lot of acousticians would deem the room unusable and unfit to be a studio. But I think that's what gives me a bit of a niche. Yeah, and so I treated the room with diffusers and RLX in spots that were problematic. I wanted to keep it as live as possible and still sound good, and so I used a combination of diffusion and absorption. And if I want more absorption to get a drier, tighter sound, I have baffles and gobos that I can bring in and surround the source to make it a more direct, dry sound, and to absorb any sort of room tone. These are gobos that I built out of wood, burlap, insulation, screws and nails, staples. It's sort of homemade, but they work really well.
Yeah, and you can make them as big or as small or as many of them as you want. So
and in the color I want, because RLX doesn't come in cool colors.